Very first
are millions
match.
of us, and we're basically crying for help.
The Middle East, the Muslim world, it's a place of conflict, a complex mess. Most people usually take sides on these conflicts based on their sects, whether it's Sunni, Shia, Alawite, or even Christian, Syriac, Assyrian, Chaldean, and so on. Sometimes, due to our upbringing, we think we're right. A lot of it stems from our religious beliefs too, based on our sects or religion. We all think that. But is it really as simple as that? Some say they are the chosen sects or the chosen religion. Look at us. We have the majority, therefore going to heaven. It's guaranteed. But is the majority always right? And if majority thinks they are virtuous by default, does it make them so? They think they're virtuous, but I think the highest virtue is not conscious of itself as virtue and therefore really is virtue. Lower virtue, on the other hand, is so self-conscious that it's not virtue. In other words, when you breathe, you don't congratulate yourself on being virtuous, but breathing is a great virtue. It's a living. Today I want to share something interesting I found, but before I do, I want to share information about a man hated by the international community. There are things I also dislike about him, however, truth has to be spoken because reason and truth will prevail at last. It always does. Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria, born on the 11th of September 1965 under the star sign Virgo. Born and raised in Damascus, Bashar al-Assad graduated from the medical school of Damascus University and began to work as a doctor in the Syrian army. On the 17th of July 2000, Assad became president, succeeding his father who died in office on the 10th of June 2000. In the 2000 and 2007 elections, Assad received 97.29% and 97.6% support respectively, and today it continues to be popular. When we talk about Bashar al-Assad, instantly in the Western world as well as the Muslim world, there's some people who immediately hate him, some like him, and others really love him. You see, every single leader in this world has blood on his or her hand. Unfortunately, that is the case. The world doesn't fart rainbows where utopian dreams fly by. It is the stage for this eternal complex sociological phenomenon called society forming. We differentiate ourselves based on history we've been through and our ways of living, our religions, sects, culture. You can never really apply loosely the very binary tags of good and evil. Everything is perspective. But in respect to President Bashar al-Assad, thanks to the mainstream media in the West, he's seen as the personification of evil. But is he really any different to the Saudi king or the Jordanian one? No, he is just a typical leader in the Middle East.
Actually, this is against our interest. This is against our interest to bomb hospital if it's used as hospital. And the proof that it was a lie, every time they talk about bombing hospital, every time they say this is the last hospital in eastern part of Aleppo. And the second time they talk about another hospital and they say the same. They bombed the last hospital. So it's a lies and lies and lies.
He has done some stupid things in the past. One of them was to release Wahhabi jihadists and let them enter Iraq in order to destabilize the plans of America. He did that because he's an anti-imperialist president. But that was stupid of him, because when he did let them out of prison, they did go to Iraq and fight, and then they came back, biting. The same Wahhabi jihadists came back into Syria to take Bashar al-Assad out. President Bashar al-Assad is by no means a tyrannical leader, hell-bent on destroying the world, whereas people, no leader wants that really. They want popularity, they want people singing their praises. Pardon my French, the media shows us absolute jack shit. Syria has been the only single country in the Middle East which has always accepted refugees from other places, even if they weren't Syrians or Muslims. Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, the so-called gatekeepers of Islam, lands of Tawheed. Butter wouldn't melt in their arses. They hesitate to take in refugees. Most of the time they don't. Just ask the Rohingyas, for instance. The only crime Bashar al-Assad committed was that he wasn't in the pro-American camp like the Saudis, the Bahrainis and the United Arab Emirates and the rest of the makeshift camps. Now I'm not saying President Bashar al-Assad was the Syrian version of the Dalai Lama, but there are other leaders who are far, far worse than Assad, and the West does not question them. What about the Saudi regime, for instance? Do you think it's not evil? Their version of Sharia law is quite barbaric and archaic. By the standards the world judges, they could be classified as evil, but it's hardly called out. I want you to recall all the propaganda against Bashar al-Assad and his supporters that you saw during the height of the war, because the next video will cover a lot of them. It's from a Tunisian TV channel where the so-called Syrian rebel explains what they were up to out there. Unfortunately, it's not something the Western media will air, so I would appreciate if you can share it with people who would be interested, especially with those who were spreading anti-Syrian propaganda during that time and recruiting religious zealots into this unforgivable, evil war.
قديش
2011
وقتها ما زلت كي
كان ما زلت
كي تروحك في قلب المعمعة به. شنو المهام اللي كنت تقوم بها انت معناتها؟
هذا تدريب على السلاح وتخطيط. تخطيط معناها.
اعطوكم هويات كيفاش وين تسكن؟
يعطيكم بطاقة كما بطاقة تعريف مصور فيها النسر اللي فيه العلم نتاع الجيش الحر. فهمت؟ هذاك معناه انت معناه متطوع في الجيش الحر يعطيوك.
انت لشنو خططت مثلا؟ انت كنت شنو قوتك؟ تخطيط قتال
يعني كان يسامحوني سامحنا زنوف ولا انا سيدي كان تخطيطي معناها على المساجد تدمير مساجد.
تدمير
مساجد.
دمروا المساجد عليه؟
معناها طلعنا كما نقولوا مسجد ابو بكر ولا مسجد عثمان معناها باسماء الخلفاء وعائشه والكل معناها ثماش معناها كما نقولوا ما هو الجيش السوري اغلبيته سنه.
اي
فهمت؟ ما هو اغلبيته السنه يلزم معنا كي نعملوا هذيك تفجر جامع والكل السنه يتاثر يولي ينشق معناها اخترناها هذيك الخطه هذيك
خطه يعني
هي خطه معناها يغزر الشيعه العلويه شوف ايش يعمل بشار وكذا وكذا معناها كما نقولوا فهمت؟ فهمت كيف الخطه هذيك؟
استنى خلينا نفهم معناتها كي انتم تدمروا توحلوها في جيش في جيش بشار
باش الجيش اللي عندك السنه هذوكم الكل يجيوا عنا نحن ينشقوا عليه معناه يضعف.
كي تدمروا جامعة تكتبوا على حيوط ولا حاجة؟
ثم حتى جامعة دمرتش دنسناهم بكتيب الله سوريا وبشار وبس وكتبت زاد لا إله إلا الوطن ولا رسول إلا البعث.
وتحرقوا مصاحف وغيره باش تبان كأنه أعداء الإسلام عملوها معناتها باش توحلوها في
حرقان مصاحف. أنا ما حرقتش كل الآية المقاتلين اللي تابعين صقور الشام اللي مع أبو عيسى عندهم $1000 في الشهر والاخرين الفلوس الاخرى اللي جابوها باش معنا كما نقول يشريوا بها برودوي نتاع سلاح ونتاع واحد باش يصنعوا بها السلاح وكل شيء. هذوما نهار 17 رمضان. فهمت؟
معناتها الكلام هذا اللي كنا نسمعوا فيه في الجرايد انه فما دول خليجيه تدعم في الجيش الحر على ارض الواقع انت شفته من البحرين
من البحرين وتجاوز زيد عليهم ثم نائب كويتي اسمه وليد الطبطبيعي. وليد الطبطبيعي ديما يبعث لنا السلاح يبعث الفلوس عامل جمعية في الكويت جمعية معناتها إسلامية.
And who's to blame for all this, brothers and sisters? Dr. Bilal Phillips, Zakir Naik, Mufti Meng. These are the gods of Islam today. They graduated from Medina University. Majority of Muslims look up to them. I have videos of these very so-called scholars crying. They're crying. They're saying that people are leaving Islam. I have footage on it. Saudi-sponsored sheikhs crying. They say people are leaving Islam. I say no. people aren't leaving Islam. They're leaving Wahhabism, the lie that was used to recruit Muslims. They're leaving Wahhabism. It was a business. These scholars for dollars were in the business, and that's all. That's exactly what it boils down to. Today, Tunisia's new constitution drops Islam as a state religion. Why is that? Because a lot of Tunisians went to Iraq, Syria, Libya, following America and the fatwas from the land of Tawheed, Saudi Arabia. These people went there to establish Quran and Sunnah, Sharia law on poor people who have no idea as to what the fuck is going on the planet. These people went to establish Sharia law on foreign land. Yet, they should ask the question, why aren't people establishing Sharia law in the land of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the land where he was born? Because Saudi Arabia today wants to establish moderate Islam. They've opened their legs and their butt cheeks to Israel and the United States of America. Wake up, people, before it's too late.